Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are enjoying your lunchtime. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rita Young, and I'm here to talk about participant direct, self direct sustainability. And I'm going to just wait a little bit. Oh, we already have 15 people that are watching. Thank you so much for joining us. And so I'm going to just wait a little bit and let folks join. Sometimes it takes a minute or so for everyone to come live, but I want to welcome you to our live this evening, or that was last night, this afternoon, and let you know that last night we had another similar session. It's going to take us about 30 or so minutes. Hi, Jane. It's good to see you. Thanks for shouting out. Um, thanks for being here today. We will not take the full hour of your precious time, so just know that last night we were on for about 35 minutes or so. And so that's what I'm estimating for today's discussion as well. While we're waiting for folks to join us, let us know where you're watching from and how long you have been self-directing either your services or the services for your son or daughter. So let us know where you're watching from. Last night we had folks from all across the state. And you can post a comment and we can see that comment. So just know that we'd love for you to know who's on watching. But thank you. All right. So again, if you're just joining, my name is Rita Young, and I'll be guiding us through today's discussion on participant direct sustainability. And I have with me, okay, wonderful. We've got some folks joining in. Tiffany's from Milton. You've been self-directing for 3 years. Claire from Tucker, 3 years. Rick from Champions Place, Champions Community Foundation, 15 years. And we've got Covington, 2 years. Okay, wonderful. That's awesome. Great. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and just start. Janet Marietta, 10 years. Yes. And again, my name is Rita Young. I've been self-directing since it started in Georgia, and I don't remember exactly how many years that is. I have to go back and look through the fiscal intermediaries, my records there, but I'm going to say it's between 12 and 15 years, somewhere the lines of that. So, all right. So again, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. I have with me a wonderful member of our work group, and I'll tell you what that is. So, Kevin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Kevin Stringfellow. I've been self-directing for I don't know, I guess about 6 or 7 years now, and just glad to be part of the group and lend anything I can to it.
Okay, wonderful. All right, we have others joining, some newbies, 1.5 years, Champions Place, 15 years. Melanie, thank you so much. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what this project is and how we started. So about 15, 16 months ago, I was introduced through a professional contact to Rick Thompson from the Champions Community Foundation. And by the way, this project is sponsored by Champions Community Foundation. And so the reason we were connected by a mutual contact is because we were both asking the same question. And that question is and was, what happens when parents pass or are no longer capable of administering the self direct model? And so, again, I was very pleased to be connected with Rick and to create this project around self direct or participant direct sustainability. And so that's the question that we are seeking to solve. What happens when a caregiver, again, is no longer capable due to health issues or has passed? What happens to that self direct model? And also for the individual, too, if someone needs additional assistance, what can we do here? How can we begin to solve this problem? And so we created a work group And I want to give a shout out to Jane. Jane is a part of the work group. Thank you so much, Jane, for joining us. Thank you so much for your contributions, as well as Bob. Bob is on. Thank you so much, Bob. I'm looking to see if there's anyone else. Of course, Champions Community Foundation also, who sponsors this project, by the way. And so we got together and started working on potential solutions. And so what I'm going to do for the next little bit is show you some slides from a PowerPoint just to help structure our conversation. There aren't many slides, so just know this isn't a webinar. And we'd love for your feedback and any questions that you have, and we'd be happy to try to answer those for you as well. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned, the project started about a year and a half ago. Let me move the banner off here. Okay. There are 5,000 families and individuals that self direct their services. I don't know if you all were aware of that. I'm blown away by that number. We found out a couple of months ago that it was around 4,000, and now it is hovering around 5,000 individuals across the state that self direct either the Now Comp waiver or the ICWP. So those are the two target audiences that we're talking about today. We enjoy the participant direct model, right? Dignity and respect is a part of that model. The freedom to choose how you want to spend your day, who you want to spend your day with, what are the activities that you want as a part of your day, who are the people that you want to support you. Gives us choice and control, authority, responsibility, relationships, and that connection with the community. And we really believe, and I don't know if you all think of something different, let me know, but I believe that this number is going to continue to grow as more people understand and learn about self direct and receive waiver services. So approximately, we have in the Now Comp, this is just Now Comp, there's 14,000 waivers in Georgia. We are now 35% of that pie here. So the 65 is for individuals that use traditional IDD services, and 35, this is us here. So we're continuing to grow. And again, just 6 months ago, it was closer to 30. So we're continuing to grow. So as I mentioned, we started in August of 2022. We are continuing to meet. So that is through October. So, and we will continue to meet. We're about 12 family members and self advocates. And I say about because our group has grown. We have connected with folks from out of state, and I will let you know that as well in just a moment. I'll tell you a little bit about that. We also have additional families that are represented by Champions Place. So it sounds like 12, but it's actually a lot more. And we've been meeting again for about a year. Representatives, as Kevin is from the ICWP, from the Now Comp, we're all pleased with the self direct model. And as our group began to grow, we invited additional partners and allies. Want to welcome folks that are just joining us. Welcome, Nancy. In terms of our partners and allies, these are the organizations that we have interacted with over the last year and a half. The Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities they are regularly participating in our meetings. So they come every month, as well as the Georgia Department of Community Health, DCH. We also connected with a group called Applied Self Direction. They're out of Boston, and they are an organization that supports states and provides technical assistance on participant direction. Self Direct Advocacy Network of Maryland. We talked with folks in Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, California. And then again, as regular attendees of our group, we also have Georgia Options, the Georgia Advocacy Office, Parent to Parent of Georgia, Better Living Together, and the PD Advisory Council. In our initial research, we found that New York State developed a report and did research on the self-direct model. You can find it online if that's something that you're interested in reading. Um, in that research, if you skip towards the conclusion of it, it's a very well done report, by the way. They basically state that self direction is excellent for individuals who have a disability as long as the parent is alive and capable of administering that model. We also, Rick Thompson and I, presented to a national conference of applied self direction in March of 2023. And it was really interesting that of the states, and there were about 200 participants in our session, our virtual session from all across the country, and no one state has found a solution to this issue. We will say that our folks in New York and their agency is called OPWDD. Ours would be the division of DD in DCH. They have added sustainability planning for participant direction as one of their top 5 priorities. I want to welcome the folks that have just joined and also the folks that are going to be watching this on replay. We did 2 surveys, which thank you, by the way, for those of you that participated in both of those surveys. The first one we did was about 6 months ago, March of 2023, with parent to parent, asking families and individuals some basic questions. What we discovered is that 56% and roughly 400 people participated in this first survey. 56% are over the age of 60. So when we look at the participant direct model, this is an interesting data point for us, right? That 56, half, a little more than half, are over the age of 60. We also asked, when you're no longer here, what are your family's wishes for your son or daughter? 72% said they would like to continue self directing in the existing home. 16% said that they would switch to a group home, host home model. And then 12% stated that they would like a provider to provide those services in the existing home. So we know as family members, I'm a family member. I have 2 sons that I self direct, and they're in their late 20s and actually early 30s. When a parent dies, a critical role is left vacant. Just think about everything that we all do on a daily basis, from directing the self-direct the model, administering it rather, hiring, training, onboarding. And then there's our other responsibilities of making sure those government benefits are renewed on a regular basis. So things like SNAP, Medicaid, the waiver. So there's a lot of responsibility that all of us are used to doing sort of automatically, right? But if someone had to step in for us, it might be challenging. Would you agree with that? And so what we decided to do is we looked at what other states might be doing. And quite a few states have something in addition to a case manager, which we would call a support coordinator. They have something called a support broker. And this is in the Northeast, in the Midwest, in the West. They may call it something slightly different, but it's a support broker. And we liked the job description that we found in several states. But for our purposes of sustainability planning, we wanted to expand that a little bit. And by the way, we've been working on this again for the last year or so. Nothing here is set in stone. Nothing here has been approved yet, right? And so that's one of the reasons that we're here today is we wanted to get everyone up to speed, as many people as possible up to speed on what we're planning, what we think might be helpful, and to also ask for your help. So, a PD support broker, again, this is something that we're developing and would be something added on to waiver services. So, this, if we're able to get this through, which I feel really good about, but it's going to take some time and your help too. would be added to the waiver. So it's not anything that would come out of your existing budget. Um, so just know that, so that it's something that we're looking to add on in the future. And this role, if you'll look here, would work with participants on the following activities, but not limited to. So, helping you with recruitment, interviewing, onboarding, training, scheduling, time approval, holding quarterly meetings about assessing staff and reviews, handling any changes, and helping the team. So it's basically, not basically, but it's another team member to help you with a transition and also to help the person that's going to be taking your place, whoever that might be. So, working to make sure that support staff are paid correctly, job performance management, developing an emergency plan for backup, and then potentially in an emergency situation. So, we wouldn't want this to happen frequently, to be able to also temporarily step in as a direct support professional. Okay, so, and then we're also looking to add to this role that's not on this slide, helping to renew those government benefits, right? Why would we need a support broker role, a PD support broker role? And again, this would be unique. A lot of states have it. We're wanting to expand and enhance that role that other states already have, because we want, this project is focused on PD sustainability. Other states have it for all um, families, and but they haven't added this extra piece here. That's what we are proposing to do. Why might we need this? To remove some of the burden of managing the self-direct program so that a family member, sibling, or friend can take over the role of the parent and responsible party, to ensure a smooth transition of those PD services before and after the parent's death, and to provide another layer of oversight for the PD model in Georgia. I want to welcome Charlene. Charlene is part of the um, work group. So thank you, Charlene, for all of your contributions. So, what are you all thinking so far? I'm going to just stop there. I've talked a little bit. What and the feedback from last night and the questions that you asked today, or you're invited to ask. We may or may not have answers for you, but it provides us really helpful feedback on what we might how we might want to answer that and what that would look like, right? Again, this is all in development. Nothing has been approved. There's so many things, processes, pieces of this puzzle, rather. So we wanted to talk to the community, get your feedback, and there's going to be some advocacy that will need to happen in the near future. But we wanted to just have a community conversation and ask you, what do you think about something like this? So again, let me go back to that. Do you think this is something that we might need to have in Georgia? Kevin, is there anything you want to jump in as we look at the job description?
No, I mean, for me, I manage it mostly myself, so my role in participating is to take some of the burden off of me, so this is not a full time job,
Okay.
and being able to collaborate with somebody and not burden family members with it.
Thank you, Kevin. I think it's a lot of responsibility, and we do this work for free, right? And so it would be wonderful to have an additional team member, again, to help families to make that transition um, to what's next, and to be that additional support, not only to the family member, to the parent, but potentially to the sibling, to the guardian, to the friend, whoever's going to step in.
Well, and a lot of times when you're coming into being self directed to begin with, you have to learn it all mostly by yourself, and having somebody like this walk you through and help you set up your plan initially would take a lot of the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, okay, great. I'm seeing some comments in the chat here. Doesn't these proposed job descriptions mirror some of the community support? So how that's an interesting. So talk a little bit about that, E. Mitchell. What do you mean there? Could you let us know? At what point would this service? Okay, so Deborah, that's a really good question. This is really the beginning stages of it. It took a year to basically get to here. We don't have full-time staff for this particular project. I work very part-time on this, and we've been able to get a tremendous amount done, I believe, in the last year. Um, so it's going to take some advocacy. Right now, we're looking at getting some firm and real numbers on the cost of this. The cost meaning what might be the cost to the state. At that point, after that, we're gonna need to start doing some more direct advocacy on this particular role. We've been very fortunate that the division and DCH have participated in our meetings on a very regular basis, so this is not a surprise to them, and that they are supportive. So it will take a few years, Deborah. Yeah, because not only do you have to get it added to the waiver, right? So what we would be asking for is a waiver amendment to add this to the now comp ICWP waivers, right? So we would be asking for an amendment. So that has to go through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. They have to approve it. But the good news about that is there are many states that have this particular service. So this isn't completely something brand new that they, may question. So I'm very hopeful in that respect. So after it goes through an approval process, right? We got to get it through a waiver amended approval process through CMS. This is all going to take a little bit of time, right? Because when you talk about adding funding to IDD and ICWP waiver, we're going to need to do some advocacy there. So that's going to take time. And then we need organizations, companies, whether it's existing providers or other providers that have the same person-centered approach that we all do to actually do the work, right? So it's going to take some time. Okay. I mean, in the lifespan, how long will this take? At what point? Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So I think that is my last slide. So I'm going to go to the questions here. It is. Let me just say one more thing before I move to your feedback, because the feedback is critically important to us, folks. We can think in a group of what we might think will be helpful, but it really takes the community to give us that feedback on, is there anything that we're missing? Okay, so if we don't have a support service like this, parents are suddenly gone, a smooth transition is unlikely, our loved ones could be potentially uprooted against their choice to live in an unfamiliar area, pulled away from the people that they love, roommates, friends, etc., pulled away from that community. And so we're trying to avoid any type of emotional trauma, which there would be a high probability if your parents have passed and you're moved from one part of the state to another part, to a group home, etc. With a support broker, there would be a smooth transition while the parents are still alive. There might also be a higher potential to remain in their own home, because we're going to have a little bit more time to plan there, right? So therefore, they would be able to stay in their community. It's a person-centered approach. Is this perfect? Is this the end all be all? No, but it's going to get us further down the line of how do we keep that person-centered approach with PD past, our timeline, when we are going to no longer be on this earth, right? Okay, let me go through here. Also, prior to death, this is my last slide. We're worried and overwhelmed. I don't know about you, but that's certainly a top of mind worry for me. And then siblings, our siblings that, if you're fortunate to have siblings that might be able to take over, are unreasonably burdened and we feel like we can't die. And with support broker services, we could potentially live later years with a more peace of mind that there is a plan, a transition plan, And also for that family member or sibling, the burden might be lighter, it is lighter and more manageable with, again, that additional person, a part of the team to queue up those key decisions for then that sibling, family member, friend to make. And there's a tangible plan in place for transition. Okay, so that's my last slide. I'm going to remove this and look because, again, there's about 30 of us on. Um, okay, let's see here. Hold on here. Let me get go. I'm going to make sure that I catch everything. Um, it is different than a support broker, E. Mitchell. It is most definitely different. So this would be in addition to. This would be someone that could really answer your questions about Participant Direct, but also help you with that recruiting of staff, training, onboarding, help you put a plan together. Actually, again, another team member. So very different, and would advocate for your son or daughter as well. So that would be different here. Let's see. Let me see what else am I catching. At what point we haven't decided. I think I understand your question a little bit better, Deborah. So thank you for clarifying that. We haven't necessarily decided that. We thought of perhaps if the primary caregiver is over the age of 60. I don't know if CMS, if that's something that is falls along the lines of their policies or not, or if you have to offer it to everyone. That's what we're not certain of yet. Thank you, Satara. We appreciate that. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Diane. You said nothing has been approved. Have you floated this? Okay. Yep, nothing has been approved yet. So I'm being transparent here. We have floated this to people holding the purse, but we will need your help when it's time to advocate. Yeah. So we've had regular participation, as I mentioned before, from DBHCD and DCH, but nothing is firm yet. We're still we're past the exploring stage, which is great. We have an idea, and we're going to be moving forward with it.
Well, and to piggyback off that, we've got an ear because they know that this is a priority, and that traditional providers couldn't take on if everybody jumped back on traditional services. So we've got an ear that's listening because they know this is a problem coming down.
Thank you, Kevin. And you bring up a great point. Traditional providers could not absorb 5,000 people, right?
Right.
Thank you, Satara. We also think it's a good idea. Thank you, Nancy. The good candidates, that's going to be critical. Certainly understand your concern there, and to have an organization and individuals that have the right culture, right, that are person-centered. Deborah, I was advised I could have a backup employer as my as my husband is actually an employee for emergencies, I wouldn't be able to take over. This would be a different role than that, right? So this wouldn't necessarily be a backup. I mean, you couldn't say this is a backup plan position, right? And I also want to state that it would not replace in any way, shape, or form any type of estate planning that you have for your family member, right? So we don't want to put that out there. I don't know if that helps, Deborah, or not. So would the PD be the contact for them? We don't know. At this point, it's an additional member of that team to help you with the transition. So I would say we just don't know yet. Okay. Also, Kevin, are you both a recipient and self-directed person? Kevin, this is for you.
I am both the recipient and the self-directed person in charge, and then I do have like a family member that has agreed to be on the waiver as like an emergency person, but I direct everything. I'm the employer in charge, and I assume yes, your son could take over as is he once he's of age.
Okay, where did Deborah go here? Okay. Um, there we go. All right. Let me hide that. Move to the next one. Okay. Would the broker be an employee of the state or private? The broker would be what we're, again, nothing's been set in stone, but it would be uh, an employee of another agency, right? So not necessarily employee of the state. I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this now. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and so this is the reality of things, and we want to bring a role that again can be an additional pair of hands to help us here. There was someone that said, I think it was E. Mitchell. E. Mitchell. It's really not overlapping with, but it can seem like yeah, so I hear that and I appreciate that feedback. It's a really different role. It's a very much different role than a support coordinator, right? This is someone that is a little bit more hands-on, right? And specifically on a participant direct. And Jean says, very needed but concerned in finding these folks. It's gonna take, yeah, so we would have similar concerns, and we want those folks again to be um, trained and to really know about person-centered decision making, and to be a part of a culture that believes people with disabilities should be making their own decisions with supports if needed. Claire says, my son is in New Hampshire. Have you discussed having a broker here for him out of state, or even a broker in New Hampshire for her to stay in Georgia? That would be, I'm not quite sure how that would work. So I think what you're saying is that you would, that's interesting. Okay. So I think what you're saying, Claire, and let me know if I'm not catching this, is you have a son that would take over for, that lives out of state. Could a support broker here possibly be of assistance when that it becomes available? I would say possibly. I don't know if a broker in New Hampshire would be able to help in Georgia. That I don't think so. Although that's a really out of the box idea. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so folks, we are at about 32 minutes here. Again, we wanted to invite you to tell you what we are planning and to also ask for your help. Informally, we are starting a PD advocacy type group, right? So we've been doing that. I'll get to, yeah. And oh, let me just catch this real quick. Are we looking at them being PD employed? Um, so I'm not sure if I understand that PD employed, or would they be your employee as well? They, in an emergency, they could be a direct support professional in an emergency. That's what we have in the current job description. So we are forming a PD advocacy group because we don't have one in Georgia, right? We're trying to figure out a name, but it will be called something like PD Families and Allies or Self Direct Advocacy Network, something like that. And so when we're ready to put that out there, we wanted to invite you to participate in that. The work group is continuing to, again, move this project forward. We'd like to be able to connect with you when we have new information to share. So it won't be that we are, emailing you weekly or monthly, et cetera, but we want to be able to have a touch base with you to tell you if we are, if we have anything new to report. If you received an email from me, then you are on our mailing list because you participated in the last survey. If you did not, I invite you to send me your email so that I can add it to our distribution list. Again, we will not be emailing you on a frequent basis, only when we have new information to report. So whether that's in the next few months, etc. We haven't quite decided that yet. Okay. A big thank you to Champions Community Foundation for supporting this work, for sponsoring this work. So if you're a family that's supported by Champions Place or Champions Community Foundation, thank you, thank you. And anything else, I'm just going to see if there are any. Tammy says it sounds more like what I thought. Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. So, and as you know, we are out there on our own sometimes, right? Because sometimes uh, it's hard to dig for the answers to different questions on PD. Thank you, Charlene. We appreciate your support. What do we need to do, Deborah? If you want to shoot me your email, if you think I do not have it, if you didn't receive an email yesterday, I sent a reminder about today's. So if you did not get that, go ahead and send me your email. And okay, seems like this broker still doesn't solve the long onboarding process. Oh, that's a whole other issue, RM. That's a whole other issue, right? Yep, that's a fiscal intermediary, fiscal agent issue. Okay. And if you think, again, we're here to listen to your feedback, whatever that is, because it helps us learn, grow, and make this project as strong as possible. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Kevin, is there anything else you want to add?
No, not about this time.
Okay,
Thanks, Rudy.
great. Thank you so much, Kevin, for being a part of the work group. Thank you, everyone, for this conversation. We will be in touch. Appreciate your time, and we've given you back about 25 minutes of your day, so make it a good one. Thank you so much. You all take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.